It's a mystery. Some say there's a better way.
30 seconds.
To talk to ease the pain. No way it's ever gonna solve a thing. Speak out, love to hear your voice. Warn, hate to seem to be the drugs of choice. Tell me what tomorrow brings. It's a mystery.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody, it's Missy, and Missy's Mania is running wild with her first ever podcast. And my fabulous first guest is Brandy Smith, the daughter of Jake the Snake Roberts. Brandy, hey girl.
It's so great to see you. Thank you for honoring me to bring me on as your first guest, because Missy, you and I have a great relationship. We can talk like friends, and it's such a nice way to be able to introduce your podcast and kind of go from there. So I am so excited for you, and it's great to see you.
Thank you. And coincidentally, cheers to Jake the Snake Roberts, whose birthday is today. Today's your dad's birthday.
Yes, it is. He's in Scotland right now, but I had the grandkids call him and did all the fun things, and he was like, "Oh, thank you so much," but
all right.
Yes. I mean,
but so what were your birthdays like? Like as a little kid, like Jake is your dad. Like, was Damien at all the parties? Did everybody just want to be around you? Like, what's the scoop? The skinny.
It was kind of so it was a mixture. I will say that. So my parents, my mom and dad were together as very young people. They didn't know each other all that well. And so that was a little bit of a kind of a he was around for the first 10 years. But then after that, he formed his second family after my mom and my dad divorced. So, but yes, of course, early on, he was there for birthdays if he could be, but let's be honest, when they were traveling on the road back in the day with Atlanta, in Atlanta areas and all that, they weren't home a lot. So
you said that he formed a second family. So we want to talk about you right now, and then we'll get into the later years, like the Jake the Snake 80s years. So when he was traveling on the road, did your mom, because I know there's a lot of infidelity and whatnot, it's not superstar, rock star.
Yes.
Was she aware?
Oh, so my mom was from a farm family. I live on the same farm now. I mean, it's fabulous. I really enjoy it. But my mom really thought that, the sun rose and set with Jake early on. And then she recognized that, wait a minute, because he was a wrestling referee when I was born.
Oh,
so that's literally what's on my birth certificate is wrestling referee. So it's on, and so she didn't really know much about wrestling. She knew paddle, she knew her lifestyle and what she wanted. And when they didn't mesh well together, after, a good 10 years after having my brothers and such.
Twins, yes.
Yes. Yeah. My twin brothers they're hilarious. They're 5 years younger than me, and Dustin and Derek, and they have families and kids, and kids that are always here on the farm, and I really enjoy that. Enjoy spending time with them. So
Did Jake spend time on that farm? Was Jake and your mom, was this like their family home also, or not?
no, but he did actually. So my grandparents ran a dairy farm of
Oh,
all things.
right.
So they had 300 cattle dairy farm. And so Jake lived there with us when I was, just being born and such.
Mhm.
And he would get up at 3:30 in the morning and go milk cows and come back and do
I
it
can't
again.
picture it. I cannot.
Right?
I can't
I
picture it.
know.
And not
I
because
know.
I can't picture milk, because he's so handsome. Like I would be like, I'm not milking no damn cows. I'm a wrestler. But so like we all know that Jake, had a substance abuse problem, and God bless him, he's on his way to recovery, and thank you DDP for being so fabulous. But um so his drug of choice was crack, right?
Early on, it was alcohol. I mean, I think that Jake recognized very early that he would use anything to not feel. And so it was whatever was available. So alcohol, cocaine, but yes, his drug of choice for decades was crack cocaine.
And then also, so there's that story out there, his Jake's dad, Grizzly, um Jake is the product of,
Right.
yeah,
I mean, I'll say it for you. That's
yeah.
accurate. I mean, so my grandmother, a wonderful woman, her name was Paula. Paula, we all called her Granny, and we would go and literally spend like as much time with her we could. So, because she was really lovely, just a lovely person to all of us. And when my parents split, even though I was so young and my brothers would have been, they were probably 3 at the time. My
Well, that's young.
my grandmother could have said, why would I continue to be a part of this family? But what she said instead was, come on, where are you at? What's going on? And she always made sure that she welcomed us. We spent a lot of time out there. Now I may have had to pick my switch a time or two.
Well, yeah, I can imagine I think you're a little feisty, but
I'm a little feisty.
so your grandmother, this was Jake's mom. She was how old when she had Jake?
She was 12 when she got pregnant with Jake. And it was not by choice, as the story goes. I mean, clearly, that's been well established that literally her mother, my grandmother, or my great grandmother, I should say, my nanny is what we called her, had come home from the bar intoxicated, and she passed out in the other room. And my granny was 12 and in the next room, and Grizzly took advantage of that. And, then at that time, I think in the 1970s, you kind of made choices one way or the other. Like, am I going to marry the person? I don't know. I think times are different now.
Big time.
And I think that people protect their kids differently too.
For sure. But it wasn't incest. We need everybody to know it wasn't incest.
No,
This
no.
wasn't. This is your granny had a child before she married Grizz.
No. So Grizz was, no, this was literally being raped.
But it was his stepdaughter, not his biological daughter.
Grizz is so Grizz came home with my great grandmother from the bar.
Right.
Let
But
me
who
play
is the
this out.
daughter? Is it Grizz's daughter or it was your grandmother's daughter?
It was my grandmother's daughter, Paula.
Okay.
And so he just went into the next room when she passed out. And so then my dad's, the product of that.
Right.
So
But
kind of thing.
but what I'm saying is, so it wasn't Grizz's daughter, it was his stepdaughter.
No, correct. You're right.
Yeah,
You're
okay.
right.
So I just
Yeah.
wanted everybody to know, like, as sad as it is for that to have happened, that it wasn't a case of incest, which is a whole another ball of wax.
Sure.
So did they keep you away from Grizz? Like,
So my mom was very protective, and so was my granny. I mean, so that's what we called Paula, my dad's mom.
Yeah.
We called her granny, and she was very protective because she knew,
blame her.
she knows the situation. He didn't come around there very often,
Mhm.
but when he did, he came around normally with trying to kind of show off the next person in his life, right? To make you jealous or make you feel some kind of way. So he would come back with a 16-year-old girl that somebody had said you can marry. But people were different back then.
People were different. Yes, I agree. And was it like everybody hears like Jake the Snake Robert, Stone Mountain, Georgia? He's not from Georgia, right?
No,
Is he
he's from Gainesville, Texas.
Texas. So, I'm thinking like hillbilly stuff, but it wasn't, but girls did get married really young. People wanted to pawn their kids off, really.
Of course, yes, they did, but I don't know if that was the case for my great grandmother. My nanny, I don't know her. I mean, I knew her then.
Was she young when she married Grizz, or she was not?
When my grandmother married Grizz,
Yeah.
she married him at literally under 16.
Wow. And wow.
I mean,
and were they
I
married?
mean, she was, she had Jake when she was 13
Mhm.
and gave him up for adoption, not up for adoption, but another family member took him and all
Right.
the things,
Because
she was super young. And then she also had family members that couldn't have kids. So for her, that was the right fit, the right thing to do.
Mhm.
But, it didn't, none of this hit any of us, I don't think. Well, any of, like, myself, if I could
Mhm.
just speak for myself, like, I didn't realize this till 20 years ago. Like,
it's not something people talk about,
right. It just isn't. And plus, you hold people at such a high esteem. And he was such a large man. Grizzly was between 7'2", 7'3". I mean, he was a big guy.
Big. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have been scared if I saw him come in my room. I would have been like, I
Right.
would have pulled the sheets up over my head if I saw him come in my room. But and he was a wrestler also. Yes?
Yes. That's what got Jake into wrestling.
Isn't it funny how father to son and then so on and so on, that wrestling, it's either in your blood or it's not. And
Mhm.
and Jake is, I mean, he's a wonderful guy. Everybody loves Jake. I know I love Jake. And I love knowing you're his daughter, and it just makes that little circle, because Brutus, wrestling, it just makes that circle a little tighter. But one thing, when we were talking, you had told me a story about going to Burger King.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was like shock and awe, and like, oh, that's But can
You're
you
like,
tell everybody that story? I love it.
so literally, I'm not the only sibling that this has happened to. So, I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
And then I have, a sister that's underneath me that is not from my mother. That I will leave her to tell her story. But then I have my
Very good.
twin brothers and that are 5 years younger than me. And then we have Cody and all of Cheryl's children. And I mean, you just don't, in an addict family, you don't talk. You're taught not to talk. And so I remember like being around 10 years old and it being used as the excuse of, well, if I take you in the car to go buy crack, she won't think I'm going to go buy crack because I've got you in the car.
Right. And who's going to do that?
And so I'll drop you off at Burger King. And then all of a sudden you're in Burger King for like 3 hours, not knowing kind of how to handle yourself. Because I mean, my mom is a single parent. My mom was like ever present.
Yep. My mom was a single parent too.
Right. So she was like all the things. And this was something I hadn't encountered. And then it must have been about 3 or 4 years ago. I said that story for the first time, and we all just looked at each other like, oh, you're not the only one that got dropped off.
Right. So everybody got the ride and the drop off with the $5 or whatever at Burger King. So like obviously he came back.
Yeah, at some point.
Like, did you say to people like, hey, my dad is Jake the Snake? Was he Jake the Snake then? Or was he, I mean, I know he's always Jake the Snake, but this is not 80s wrestling. This is before that, or he was like Jake the Snake.
So I was 10, it's 1985, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So
did you say my dad's Jake the Snake? Don't throw me out. He'll be right back and give everybody autographs.
No, because I was embarrassed, but I did say that, and like he took me into clubs and was like in Panama City Beach and was like, she's 21, and they'd be like, she's clearly not 21, right. Jake.
Yeah. But it was Jake, so what are they gonna say?
Right. But then when he leaves me to go to the bathroom, that was the time I used, hey man, please don't kick me out. My dad's in the bathroom. I swear to God. We were at Club La Vela. I'll never forget it, on Panama City Beach. And I was like, please don't kill me. Please don't kick me out. And he looks at me, he's got me by the arm, and he's like, yeah, sure, your dad's Jake the Snake. And I'm like, he's going to be out in 2 seconds.
He's smoking right now.
Yep. And that's literally what happened. So he was like, sir, don't know what to say. Sorry, sir.
So when your parents divorced, right? So Jake had a second marriage with Cheryl Roberts.
Yeah.
Right? Cheryl, the famous Cheryl Roberts, Rick Rude, smack in the face. How did he explain that to you? Did he introduce you right away? Did you see on TV she was, Jake the Snake Roberts' wife? Like, it's Jake the Snake Roberts when she smacked Rick Rude, or like?
It's a good question. I was a kid. I don't know that he ever introduced it early on. I know that they lived in a town like a half hour away, and I didn't know that until literally a couple of years ago. And I was like, what do you mean you lived there when y'all were first dating?
Sure, like, it was that close.
Yeah, like he could have come by and seen us. He could have spent some time, kind of thing. But then after that, otherwise it was just, he really focused on his second family.
Mhm.
and making sure that he kept that family cohesive, I guess, as best
I,
he could with the lifestyle.
I think things change too when you start making money, you know, when you get to that certain point and like you're a rock star. But, you know, how did they meet? How about that? Like how did Jake and how did they meet? If you know, I'm sure you
Jake
do.
and Cheryl,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I what I heard was that it was that he had gone to where her father had owned, a couple of businesses, and
Okay.
he had tried to kind of hit on her a couple of times. She was
Strip club
doing
or ice cream store?
no more strip club, high end, right?
A
So
gentleman's club. A gentleman.
no, yeah, it's a strip club for sure. But I mean, like
But Cheryl
literally,
wasn't she wasn't a dancer or anything
no,
crazy
no,
like
no,
that. Like her
never
dad
in a
owned the
million
joint.
years.
Yeah, her
Yeah,
daddy owned
yeah,
the
yeah.
joint. Okay. So we
Yeah,
just want to
so
make that clear.
she did more so of the bookkeeping, like she did the CPA duties. She
Okay.
did that, and I remember like her telling me a story like where dad tried to like write his phone number in the dust on her car windshield a couple of times, and
Cute.
she was so annoyed by him. She was like, I just found him really obscene. And I'm like, yeah, because he was.
Right? All jacked up. Um,
Right. But
was Cheryl a good stepmom?
I think that Cheryl did her absolute best as a young woman,
Mhm.
uh, being, coming into kind of three kids that weren't her own and trying to host us and trying to really help out in whatever way she could. But I will say that we've certainly butted heads. And we have throughout the years, because I'm a very opinionated woman and
I
she
know.
is too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I know
she
that's
really is.
yeah. Yeah. How did things change when Cheryl had kids of her own with Jake?
I don't, I think they changed in the way of she was more focused on her family
Mm-hmm.
and including us, when she could. But they had four kids very quickly. I mean, very quickly. And
Yeah.
so, I know that, I mean, I had only met my two older siblings, and so you just never know how things play out when you're that age, I
Right.
guess is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. But Cheryl and I definitely have gone, like I said, I'm opinionated. I like to have my own voice,
Yeah.
and whenever things became awry, I would say something. And that's
No.
not normally my style, but
Mhm.
it certainly was because I was helping take care of my brothers as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. As a big sister, sure. My sister's 6 years younger than I am. So I know what it's like to have to take care and take a hold. Um,
right.
so I mean, you had mentioned that you had like body issues or whatever. I mean, you're a skinny mini now, but growing up, I mean, we all go through that awkward stage. And like Cheryl taking you shopping,
Yeah.
like was
No, I
she
mean, like, yeah, Cheryl's always been gorgeous. I mean,
yeah,
let's be honest, she's always been gorgeous.
cute, yeah,
And when I met her, like curly hair,
the
all
the best hair ever.
right. And
Best
so
hair,
she took me to her hairstylist, and he was like, "You realize you have curly hair too, right?" And I'm like, "What?"
right?
Like I had no idea. And so
What
that's
you could
where,
do.
yeah, I figured that part out. But shopping with Cheryl was hell.
Yeah.
Because she was a small person. She was very fit. She was very well put
Stylish.
together. You know, she was a small size.
Mhm.
You know, the women in my family are just, they're, so for me, I mean, I weighed over 350 pounds at one point. So I have not always been a small person,
See, and
but
I can't even see it. I can't even, because you're so put together. And not that there's anything wrong with being heavy. There's
no,
nothing
I
wrong with
get
being
it.
heavy. But you're in the public eye, essentially. And just for yourself, and Cheryl is your stepmom and Jake's your dad. So I can see how you would want to be, you know,
Well,
fit.
and also being told like that doesn't look good on you. You're never going to fit into that. That's
Who said
not
that?
you. I mean, Cheryl would say that for sure. I mean, she would, when she would take me shopping, she'd be like, "That's not going to fit you. That's not going to look good on you." And I'm like, "Can I not just try it on? Like, I mean,
Right?
what's the problem? I mean,
Yeah.
like." I can just try it on, right? And I mean, but I didn't have a real voice then, so it was
Well, when you're
hard to have
young,
those conversations.
yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, and your dad's on TV and Cheryl's on TV. So, I mean, I would think you wouldn't know how to approach. Like, did you look at her like she was, well, not really even her, because what did she smacked Rick Rude in the face. It's iconic. Like, I'm jealous. I gotta say, I'm jealous of that. But, did you look at her like she was like this
An
thing, like
icon like Jake
icon?
was,
Yeah.
yes,
and
yeah.
and you're out with her and she's saying, maybe not that outfit.
I mean, if you think about it, like, so my family where we lived as kids, so the house was super, very well kept, all the things, right?
Right.
Flowers, gorgeous. But when I went to dad's, Cheryl had a lingerie room.
She had what she
You
had?
heard me. A
Lingerie.
lingerie room.
Did you
Like,
ever try to raid like her? Did you ever, like, I'd be in there trying everything on, but
I couldn't have worn anything that she
a
wore
bra, little
that
bralette.
age, you know, but truly, like literally, it looked like I'd never seen. She had this room called a dressing room off of their main bedroom, right?
Yeah.
All glass, and it had a partition, but on the wall were panties hung up by the like, and the bras hung like if you're at Victoria's Secrets. And
Yeah.
I was like, can't do that. Like, it was so bizarre to me. I was like, this is a different world.
Right.
It's just a different world. So,
And sex appeal. I mean, sex sells at the end of the day. Sex sells,
oh, of course.
and Jake is sexy. Like, did you ever look at Jake and you're like, women dig my dad? Like,
Oh, for sure. I mean, Tom Selleck, kind of look. I
Tom
mean,
Selleck, Jake the Snake, yeah. But were women, like, if you were out with him, if you were out with Jake, would women come up and like throw themselves at him?
yes, that was my biggest complaint was anytime we went to dinner, like I just couldn't even like wait, your kids are in town maybe a quarter, maybe 3 times a year, and we're at dinner at a steakhouse that's supposed to be exclusive and all the things, and literally the waitress has told everybody, and then there's a barrage, and then I'm the upset like 14-year-old girl going, back the hell off,
Right. Right. I'm trying to have dinner with my daddy.
like all I want.
which speaking, what did you call Jake? Was he dad, daddy, dada, Jake, snake? What was
Right. It's so weird. It's kind of transitioned, I guess. So he was dad maybe early on, but he's always been Jake.
Jake?
Jake or Cheryl's always called him Jake. Nobody has ever called the man by his first name ever.
Which is good because I hate when people do that stuff. Like people will be like, "Hey, how's Ed?" I'm like, "Ed who?"
Right. And my
Right?
dad's name is really bizarre. So,
But it's a respect thing.
it is. I agree. But I
Yeah.
would just be like, no, I mean, if they say like in my phone right now, it says Jake the Snake when he calls me because I do business and I want people to know that's who's calling and not my dad, if that makes
Right.
sense. You know,
When Brutus calls me, it says Brutus Beefcake. Like
I love it.
he is. He's Brutus Beefcake. So another thing I want to talk about road stories, right? You traveled with Jake a little bit, right? As you got older, and I think I heard like a Philippine story.
I had my high school graduation gift was actually 30 days in the Philippines with 30 wrestlers. And so it was
Sign me up.
right. It was an amazing time.
And Cheryl didn't go.
Cheryl didn't go. She was supposed to go, but I think they were fighting at the time. I don't know what all that was about, but
Right.
my mom was like, "You're going on a $5,000 airfare. Can you just go?" Kind of thing. Like, I'm good if you're good. And I'm like, I'm fine. I can handle myself, And
how old were you?
I was 17.
17.
So,
okay.
yeah, I graduated at 17 and I've always kind of just been a more mature, independent person. I mean,
you
but
kind of have to be like Jake the Snake's your dad. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want to talk about school right now. I want to hear about the Philippines though.
The Philippines were amazing. It was fabulous. I mean, like everything from the zoo and then bringing specialized animals out for Jake. Like I'm like, Dad, you want to take that 300-pound anaconda into the ring with you? Good luck with that.
Right.
Like
Now,
literally.
Of like specialized animals, weren't there a couple of little special girls like that were brought over like sushi? Like,
oh, for sure. I mean, like literally in the Philippines, I mean, you see all kinds, all types, all things, right? And it's like, oh, well, let me show you the two people I'm interested in for this evening. What do you think? And I'm playing blackjack, which I can't play in the States because I'm 17. And he's like, well, she says she's ugly and she's pretty. Take her back. And I'm like,
so you got to pick.
I didn't.
Or he was like, what do you?
Right, but I didn't even know that.
You didn't know what it was all about.
Right. I had no clue. Like he was like, what do you think about these two people? And what do you think? And I'm like, okay, there's two women and a dude behind them. And I don't know. I mean, I'm 17.
Right.
Like literally, I just had no idea. So he was like, take her breath, kind of thing. Okay.
And this is like a loaded question because I know with wrestling and all that and the guys, there's a lot of infidelity and blah blah. So clearly, Philippines, married to Cheryl, hooking up with little Philippine tarts.
They were divorcing at the time, actually. I didn't know that. Because I was moving in with them to go to college. And that was part of my trip
So
But
you're
when
moving
she
in
said,
with them, but they're getting divorced.
yeah, I was literally I had moved all of my things from Texas in a vehicle, driven all the way from Texas to Georgia with Jake. He's smoking crack the entire way. Yeah. And I'm like, so we're here at the house now. I mean, this is not new news to him, clearly.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, here we are now. Now what are you gonna do? Like,
Since your bags are on the sidewalk, where am I going?
right? Like, literally, are you gonna try to hide this? Are you gonna try to bail? What are you doing? Because I'm supposed to be going to school here. And I'm trying my best, man. Like, I'm trying to start my 18-year-old life,
Right.
but you're not stable enough for me to do that here. And so I literally had to say to my mom, I holler at my mom and I'm like, I'm going to go to the Philippines, but I believe I'm moving back. And I moved back with nothing because, well, I mean, yeah, that's how it works, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Yes. Um, but so I'm gonna have so many questions in my head. All right, so you go back home. That's so tough. I had no idea that you were planning on going to school and moving in. You don't think Cheryl wouldn't let you, just being Jake's daughter, she wouldn't just let you, move in anyway and stay with her, or was it that contentious?
Cheryl took her kid and left me in the house
Left you in the house? What do you mean? Could you
with
have
Jake.
oh, okay.
So, I mean, Cheryl and I did not have a close enough relationship for me to even have that conversation.
Okay.
Nor do I think that I could have trusted what she said.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she wasn't my stepmom. I mean, she was my stepmom, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when you only spend a little bit of time together, that's hard. So
You always called her Cheryl. It wasn't like there was never a time mom. And she has the 4 kids with Jake.
Mhm.
And your dad and Cheryl are back together for all intents and purposes, right?
Yeah.
Which is romantic.
Yes.
In a way, they've come around, but they don't live together.
No, they live in 2 separate cities, an hour and a half apart. And I mean, they spend a lot more time together now that I don't live there anymore. So he spends a lot more time at her place than he does, maybe at the house in Marietta. But yeah, for sure. I mean, Jake's always had somebody to take care of him.
And he needs that. He needs that. He needs that, right? Gosh, this could be like a 2-part series because you are probably, I don't want to say you're the most interesting guest I've ever had. You're the most interesting person that I currently know. And so
let's go back to the Philippines. So the Philippines,
yes.
The Philippines with those 30 guys and ladies and small wrestlers too. Like, it was all like midget wrestlers, I don't like, they were all amazing. Everybody took care of me. I mean, they knew I was Jake's daughter. They knew how old I was. Like,
right.
They always took care of me.
Now you had told me that someone was in charge of taking care of you, but when you went, he was already drunk, so you went back to your room, or right?
Exactly. So
yeah.
So Cowboy Bob Orton really, was like kind of my second person,
Uncle.
like Yeah, he was the uncle, that,
Uncle
hey,
Bob. We call him
he'll
Uncle Bob.
yeah, he'll take care of you. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then I spent time, with the Barbarian, and I was out on the dance floor at a very popular dance club, literally,
Mm-hmm.
out there dancing at
Okay.
the age of 17, had no idea what was about to happen. And
Yeah.
and he comes up and he whispers to me, like, people were saying things in foreign languages in my ear, and I
You have no idea.
didn't know. I
Right?
was like, hey,
Yes,
I'm
I'm hot. Yes,
17,
I'm
I'm
hot.
enjoying myself,
Right?
right?
Yeah. Shaking them things.
And literally he says, Brandy, everybody on the floor is for sale. And I was like, say who? Like, I didn't even know what it meant.
I would have said, how much is $1 million in yen? I need to.
Look at you. I love that. So I was
Right?
like, thank you for warning me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. I had
But
no clue.
and you also told me that the Barbarian, he took care of you as well. He protected you from things that
Absolutely.
were going on,
Yeah.
which
He
is
made
nice.
sure that I didn't get myself into any trouble, that
Mhm.
I didn't go out and do anything overly stupid. Like, he would
Right.
stand back, let me be who I was, but he very much so was like, I'm not going to let you get messed with. So,
It was like Big Brother is watching.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, so did you date any professional wrestlers?
Date would be the wrong word.
Did you
Wrong verb.
fuck? Did you fuck any professional wrestlers?
That might be part two. That
Did
might be
you
part
have
two.
sexual relations?
With
That could be
that
part
might
two.
have to be part two, Missy.
You know what?
Because
Let's just leave a little teaser out there. Well, let's leave a little
yeah,
teaser out there. So, and when you grow up, right, you get to a certain age, like, and you're a psychologist. You are a
yeah,
licensed psychologist, like, and a lot of psychologists go into psychology to deal with their own problems.
for sure. Their trauma, their family trauma, or both. Yes, for
Right.
sure. I certainly did that. I mean, all the movies that Jake's been in,
Mm-hmm.
from beginning to end, all the documentaries I've been in. So, I mean, I'm always there, the person that, is willing to talk about, but also wanting to push him. Like, when he says things like, I just want to die every day. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit.
Right. We know you don't want to.
Like you have to, and I got flack for that. Like, I got a lot of negative feedback for being that blunt and honest with him. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that people think I should be more kind and gentle.
Yeah, we
With
can't be kind and gentle our whole entire lives. We need to, you know, make people, be accountable for the things that they've done, whether they're famous or not, and I think with fame comes a lot of demons and it's got to be hard to be famous.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be even worse on the kids, I think.
Well, and luckily for me and for my brothers, like my brothers, being twins, they grew up in a very, very small town, like graduating class of 15, you know. But
And
I
of
went
course,
to
Jake has twin boys because we all know, like, he's Jake the Snake Roberts. He's gonna shoot off, twins.
right,
You know.
exactly.
But what I wanted to know about was, speaking of childhood trauma, there's a story about Jake's his stepmom. Like, Jake's stepmom approached him when he was young. Is that
When
is
he Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think he was 12 or 13. I mean, that's a better question for him, but I think he was 12 or 13. And it wasn't really a request, it was a proposition, and it was a game
Right.
played between Grizz, Jake's dad, and his second wife. And so
Oh, that's really weird. That's really weird. But that's what that's what forms people, I think.
right. I mean, and Robin, Jake's sister, has said, like, I knew this was going on my end, but I didn't know what was going on the other end. So, I mean, it's really hard to think about, him going through that and doing all that. But we
Right.
still are accountable as adults to be adults and to figure
Yes.
out how we want to do things differently and be present. And one of the greatest things is seeing this guy be a grandpa. Like, literally, he's on the phone with these two kiddos that have cerebral palsy and autism, and they're like, but Papa Jake, and
Love it.
it's just adorable to hear him be present for that.
And he deserves that. Jake deserves all of the good things in the world, because some people don't recover from childhood trauma like that, you know? And I remember seeing Jake. He was at Boca Raton Championship Wrestling event, and I was like, Jake, do you want to drink? And he was like, nope, don't drink. And I'm like, oh wow, that's great. And he was like, yeah. And he was talking to Brutus, and he said, yeah, I'm off everything. I don't do anything. I'm just
Right.
living life, and life is good. And I thought to myself, I'm so happy to see that for him,
Right.
because he deserves that,
He
you
does
know?
deserve that. And it took a long time to get him there and to
Yeah.
keep him there. I think that it's kind of in that really good place for him now, being 10 years. I
Yeah.
think that that's really been, I think it's become easier for him, as he says.
It's a
So,
it is a lifestyle, you
for
know?
sure.
And it's not an easy one, and it's one that he's, I mean, hello. Right, 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 my girl. I'm happy for him. So, as of like, oh, we know what I wanted to ask about. Well, I mean, this Jake's brother, Sam Houston. Like, I've got all these questions in my head, Brandy, and I've been trying to, you know, because you and we've just been talking. We've just been doing this girl thing. So I wanted to have this easy breezy thing with you, and I got questions in here and here and here and here. But so Sam Houston is Jake's brother,
Yes.
right?
Yes. His
Did you do you
half
know
brother?
him? Half brother. Okay.
Okay. I
Was
never.
he, is Sam Houston's mom like a 13 or 16-year-old girl as well?
So that's no, I think that was Marsha. I think that was Grizz's second wife, but our family tree has no branches. Like, literally,
Right.
like, you literally have to look at it on paper. Like, the last people that asked me to try to do that, I was like, you might want to talk to somebody who, knows more than I do, which would be, I don't even know who at this point. So,
But your granny left you a book of photos and stuff like
yes,
that, so that you would
yes.
have some type of, which is really, really nice,
And in her writing, and all the way from like the 1950s to, yeah, she was really a very impressive woman.
yeah.
She loved my dad hard, but I don't think she really knew how to necessarily communicate that as a young woman.
Sure.
But I know that literally, the last surgery she had, Jake had long hair at the point. He cut his hair off at the nurse's station.
Really?
I'm not joking. I still have it. She sent it to me. She's like, Brandy, the box of things that you need to have. One of them is your dad's ponytail.
Your dad's
from when-
locks. And he was known for his hair, I mean.
Right? But
Yeah.
I mean, that was because it always drove her crazy that he had long hair. So
when
and
he saw
so
her in the hospital, he cut it.
he was like, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll show you my love. That was his professional love,
I love
for her.
it.
So yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, like today, fast forward, your relationship with Jake, you book Jake, you take care of all of his bookings, you're the contact person. Your relationship with Jake today is
Wonderful. It's great. I mean, really, we lived in the same house. My partner and I lived there with him for almost 3 years, and it was really great. It helped us kind of reform some connections that needed to be formed. And now we're back, in Oklahoma. He's in Atlanta, but
yes.
really what it means is that he gets to live the lifestyle he wants to live, and we do too, but I will always help take care of him. He's a good man.
And I love it. He is a good man. I think that, the thing that I want to come out, and I know the thing that you want to come out is that, for as much as life, Jake has lived like 10 lives. You know what I mean? For as much as Jake has lived, and you've lived side by side, you've both grown into
Right.
wonderful people. Your relationship with your dad is solid.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't we all have to go through progress to get to where we want to be in our relationships? So I'm grateful to be here. Yeah.
And that's now we're finding out why the chicken crossed the road. It was like to get
You're
to the other side.
Of course.
And I think that you're just, how I feel about you. I mean, we've had so many conversations. We never end a conversation without saying, I love you, love you, love you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have asked for anybody better than you because you've made me feel comfortable.
Good.
Brandy, you've made me feel comfortable with this,
You're amazing at this. You're a rock star. I can't wait to see where it goes.
And we will have a part 2, I'm sure.
Really?
And there's a cruise, right? You're working on a wrestling cruise.
Yes, and that's going to be at the end of February. I am so excited for you and Brutus to be there and to be featured on it, and we'll figure it all out.
Yeah, I can't wait. And ongoing, so there'll be multiple. And this is your brokerage. Like, this is you.
Yeah,
you're making it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Missy, so much.
And I want to just give you much love. I know we only have a couple minutes. We got like 6 minutes. Is there anything that you want to tell people about you? Like, do you have a website? Anybody that wants to get in touch with you for bookings for Jake, how do they do it? Where do they go?
Sure. Yeah. Jake's information is always the best way to book him is Jake at jakethesnakeroberts.com. And he has an online store, Jake the Snake Shop. .com, so it's real easy, and my name's Brandy, and they can certainly find us there, and anything I can help with bookings, I certainly will.
Awesome. And you book a few people.
I do a couple, Buff Bagwell, Scotty Riggs, also kind of venturing into booking a couple of other legends for the cruises as well. So
I love it. Well, feel free to take over Brutus Beefcake. I'm retiring. Everybody hates me. But Brandy, one thing, they hate me. One thing I wanted to mention, Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty just got married. and your girl officiated. So
I
it
saw that.
was it good,
It was
right?
gorgeous.
It was
So
it was
do that
supposed
on
to
the
be on the beach,
cruise.
huh?
Do it on the cruise.
Like remarry on the cruise. That would be nice. Like
I'm
everybody
like,
should read their vows. We should have
or anybody that wants to be married by. Yes, that's what I'm
right.
saying, right?
Brutus is available to be the best man if anybody books me to marry them.
I love it. I
Right?
love it. We're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna make well you brokered the deal and we'll go with it. We'll make it
All right.
happen. We'll make it
Sounds
happen.
good.
All right. Well, I much love. We still have 4 minutes. Oh my God.
It's okay.
All right.
No
Let's just
worries.
you and me. Let's just you and me. All right. So what are you drinking?
I'm actually having my lovely cannabis infused lemonade.
Now, where do we get that? I've never heard of it.
So it's Smoky's version.
Mm-hmm.
So, Smoky's version, and it's 250 milligrams of lovely cannabis lemonade.
Maybe we could get them as a sponsor.
And only 9 calories. They definitely need to be a sponsor.
9 calories. We need to do like a big weed show, like a big cannabis. The Hulkster has cannabis. What's his pick?
Let's.
What's
I'm
his
your
name?
girl for that, for real. Serious.
You're the queen. Yeah. So maybe we'll try to get something together to do like some type of, weed deal. That'll be great.
Like, let's do a pop-up. I'll email Smokies, see what they say, and
Love
see
it.
if we can do like a little pop-up event, and then maybe they would sponsor us.
All right, Smokies. You heard it here
There you
first.
go.
Brandy Smith, Missy
Yes.
Beefcake, Missy Mania, running wild up in the house. Thank you, Brandy, for being my first guest. I love you so much. We're kindred spirits. We really are. We really are. And I love getting messed up with you while we have our conversation.
I like having a great time, having my beverage. You have a beverage, and we can just chat and be ourselves. It's fabulous.
Yes, it's wonderful to. I don't have a lot of friends, as an adult, I'm making friends, and I'm so happy that you're in my life. I really am.
Me too. I got you, girl. You got me. I know that.
I got you for sure, and I can't wait that part too. I mean,
Hey,
maybe we'll have your daddy on air at some point.
oh, he'll definitely do it. You'll just have to see if you can get Cheryl to do it too.
I talked to Cheryl, but she was traveling to Scotland and whatnot. So, I mean, understandable. I've reached out to a few people, and you know what? The sky is the limit. Like, it's girl talk, and it's wrestling, but different.
And you're going to have a lot of, like, I have some other wrestler kids that I have communication with that I'd be happy to connect you with.
I would love that. And I think people would love that. I think, it's nice to get that little inside look.
Yeah.
All right.
Like
so
Andre the Giant's daughter, that kind of thing. So
I heard Andre the Giant had a giant peenie. And I saw him naked one time in the locker room, and he had a towel. He was holding a towel. He was walking through the locker room. A giant towel, but it looked this big on his big body. So, so we want to say happy birthday to Jake the Snake, Robert.
Yes.
And thank you, Brandy. I love you mucho. I'm going to call you later on.
Yes.
So crack open another cannabis drinky poo. I'm going to get myself a Tito's and something, and I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Sounds great, honey. Bye.
Much love. Thank you so much.
Yes.